welcome to One Cardinal, One Cup, and One Beer. And as you can see, I am not in my office. I'm in my house because my
Fancy.
office is cold.
Oh, yeah. It's freezing tonight, Vince.
I,
Six
I just
degrees.
I just have a little space heater down there. And I went down there to do my show prep and everything, and I was freezing. And I came upstairs and I told Kathy, I can't. I'm too cold because she'd already said, I could set everything up on my laptop. You could do it here. So I'm on Kathy's laptop and I'm sitting in the TV room. But Josh, it is so cold. It is
That's
so
because,
cold.
Vince, you lost too much weight. You're a skinny man. I'm in here. I'm in shorts. Man, I'm kicking back. I got the fat man body. I'm warm. I'm thermal.
Oh, well, let me tell you something. Back in about 1995, 96, in that era, I had guttural psoriasis. I don't know if you know what that is. You're in healthcare. I don't
Well,
know.
a red rash, an itchy area.
It goes from head to toe, and it's little patches of a psoriasis,
Yeah.
but it's all over your body.
It's raised, right?
Yeah, yeah. And what happens if like you have a strep throat or something that can trigger it,
Oh,
usually like
an
a few
infection.
weeks or a month afterwards. I thought I was dying. Suddenly I started having these splotches. I've still got scars on my body from these psoriasis things. So I had to go to a few doctors to figure out what it was. I finally, two of the doctors just looked and said, "Wow, that's interesting. I don't know what that is." So I'm thinking I'm dying. And then I go to a dermatologist. He takes one look at me. He says, "Oh, you've had a strep throat here lately, haven't you?" I said, "Yeah, about a month ago." He said, "Oh, you got guttural psoriasis." So are these going to stay here forever? Because it was hideous. He said, "Oh no, they'll go away. It takes time, but they'll go away. But you're fine." But anyway, to make a long story even longer, the first thing he put me on was prednisone, the
Right?
steroid, and this was around Valentine's time, and those boxes of Little Debbie
The heart shaped
heart
thing.
shape with the jelly fill. Oh gosh, I could not stop eating. I could not get full while I was on those heavy doses of prednisone. And one day I bought a box of those and I didn't intend on it, but I ate the whole box in about 20 minutes. Well, the contents inside the box, not the box. I got up to 246 pounds. And I mean, it did not take long. I probably was about 190. I put on like 50 pounds terribly
Boom.
fast. And I had to take coal tar baths and everything. And finally, it did go away and took me off the prednisone. Right now, I am not at that weight yet, but this is the second highest I've ever been because I just
Oh,
weighed
really?
myself today. And yeah, I'm thinking I got to lose some weight.
Oh, I'm always got to lose some weight. You look great though. You do not look heavy at all.
I when like 30 years ago, me and some friends we were talking and we were trying to guess each other's weight. And the guy guessed my weight at 185. I said, "Oh, you're not even close." He said, "Not even close. How much do you weigh?" I said, "I weigh about 210." No way. I said, "Let's go get a scale." And I weighed 211 at that time. Um, but I, I carry my weight kind of head to toe. I'm kind of thick all over. My dad was like that. My dad's calves were huge. He couldn't pull his socks over his calves. And my calves are naturally big too. It was funny because when I was in high school, I played football. I never lifted weights, but I was a fullback for one season, and then I was a tailback the other seasons. And it's because my legs were just so naturally strong. I could get on a machine. I could stack with my legs. I couldn't lift anything because I had no upper body strength, but my legs have always been freakishly, weirdly strong because of those genes I have. Uh, Genetics, not blue jeans. But Yeah, but yeah, I noticed I my weight distribution has changed as I'm approaching 60, and I'm thinking I can't continue to eat like this. My problem is I love to cook, and you know,
You eat healthy
Kathy,
though. You're always making meat roasts and
yeah,
things
I'm
and things.
making that stuff, man. So I'm not out here making tofu.
Yeah, you're not making no, you're not baking cookies or anything.
So, oh, but anyway, let's get the housekeeping out of the
All
way.
right.
Those of you who are watching us on the Facebook chat or the YouTube channel, I messed that up again. If you're watching us on the YouTube channel, please make sure you subscribe to us. That way you can have our shows as soon as they drop. If you're on Facebook, please look us up. You can contact us through one card, one cup, one beer at gmail.com for those of you who want to contact us and tell us how good looking JJ is. If you'd like to support our efforts and give us a little bit of this, and for a little bit of this, you will get some gifts, stickers, coffee cup, depending on how much you want to support us. You can go to patreon.com and just search one Cardinal, one cup, and one beer, and you can find us there. And all of our support is greatly appreciated. If you would like to be a guest, later on, we will have Will Elmore on here, and you're going to absolutely love him. And I want to thank you, JJ, for finding this guy because what he does is super cool. I mean, I'm juiced for this, as you can tell. But if you'd like to, like be on one of our panels, just drop us a message because we certainly love to have our viewers and those who listen on the podcast as our guests. JJ, are you thaw?
Oh my gosh, it was killer today. I'm a nurse, so I had to draw blood. These veterans come in, they got to take 7 layers of clothes off before I could even draw their blood. It takes forever. We had about 40 people lined up to come into the lab today. It's been rough. I went out to put some stuff out, and we have an area where we put some of our biohazard. Couldn't even open up the thing because the lock was froze. So hopefully, I looked over the next few days. We got 2 more cold ones, but it's going to get a little warmer. And I think by Friday, it's going to get 32 degrees here in Missouri. Heat wave. We're going to have a heat wave, Vince.
We're going to Memphis Friday and Saturday, so at least we're going south.
That's right.
I am happy about that.
Eat some of that spicy
Um,
barbecue. Mm.
yeah, I've still got some Christmas presents to make, and because of all the stuff in the basement, I've had to take my table saw and keep it outside with the tarp over it. And we've had such cold weather and rainy weather and then snowy weather and now icy weather. I I wasn't able to finish Christmas presents up because it was raining outside and I couldn't do this while it was raining. So I had to tell everybody, "You've got more coming." I had to explain the stupid thing. My chaos house outside, I can't fit anything. So so then we've had the snow and everything. I'm like, golly, it's gonna be February and then people will be getting their Christmas gifts. But
Oh,
JJ,
yes,
I
sir.
I have picked something up this
Oh,
week that
all right.
I know you're gonna love because we have mentioned this guy a few times on here.
All right. Here we go. Drum roll.
This may have been one of them that I mentioned when you asked me,
Okay.
um, is there any vinyl that you that's on your radar? This may have been one that I mentioned. If I didn't mention, it's just because I forgot this one. But I have wanted this for so long. You see
Lou
that?
Rawls.
Lou
You'll never
Rawls.
find. Hey.
Yeah, All Things in Time from 1976. This has been in
No.
cellophane since 1976. I always take the cellophane off, and it's beautiful. The
Yes.
uh, the album's in pristine shape, and I I love Lou Rawls. There
Smooth
is one
sound.
song on here that I loved as a kid. I probably only heard it 2 or 3 times,
Oh,
and I did not know Lou Rawls sang it. I didn't know it was on this album. Have you ever heard the song Groovy People?
Doesn't I don't recall that song.
This has groovy people on it. It's got
Oh,
You'll Never Find Another Love Like
I know
Mine,
that one. That one I know.
groovy people, and pure imagination. This
From
was
like Willy Wonka, that Pure Imagination, or
no, no,
different?
no,
Oh,
none of
okay.
it. But this was easily his best-selling album. This is what put him in the public limelight. Just a smooth voice. So I actually got this for 90 cents.
Oh
I was
man.
so happy. So
Yeah. You know, for our listeners, young fans out there, Lou sung a lot of the Budweiser Bush products. He would have to sing a song over it, and he would come to Bush Stadium at least once a year and sit in the booth with Mike Shannon and Jack Buck, talk to him, and he was always so pleasant. He did they had a telethon in St. Louis, and Lou would host it or be a big part of it.
yeah,
So I've always had a special place in my heart for Lou Rawls, man. Great find, Vince.
yeah. Lou's no longer with us. Um, Big baseball fan, big Cardinal fan. Sorry to say, but hey,
Hey, we all can't be perfect.
yeah, but uh, just the smoothest voice. And like Barry White, his contemporary, he had a very sexy voice.
Deep.
Lou Rawls' voice is sneaky sexy. It's very smooth, and you don't realize how sexy it is until you're like, and yeah, I should play that for the wife.
Hey, sneaky sexy. I like that. I think that's gonna be in the new dictionary. Sneaky sexy. I
Yeah,
like that term right there.
yeah.
Oh,
I try to tell my wife that's what I am, sneaky sexy. She's not buying it though. So
next thing you know, you're right there. Boom. That's right. That's a great find, Vince. And I could talk music forever. But speaking of great finds, I do not know if you heard this, but today the Willy Wonka, the golden ticket, it was found. The Paul Skeens card, and of course there was a kid, 11-year-old kid, good for him, God bless, that in California got the ticket, got the card. So God love him. I wished it was me, but
is
yeah,
he
it's
from
good.
Los Angeles?
I hope not. And what is going on with these Dodgers? Matter of fact, I'm wearing the Dodger hat because I don't know if you heard about this, but when they got Roki Suzuki, I was the podcast announcer to be thrown in later at a later date. It's me. Now it's going to be one Cardinal, one Cub, or one Dodger, one Cub, and one beer. But
Mm.
no, I said no. I can't give up my Cardinals, so I'm just wearing this because the kid in California got the card. But man, that's a treasure. It's been a big treasure hunt too for that card.
So I guess he's just going to keep it because the all the stuff that they were giving away was from the Pirates organization. I mean, he's
Right.
certainly not going to be moving to Pittsburgh.
Well, but you can put the tickets up for on StubHub and get money out of that. Go to spring training. I think
He'll
they're going.
never
He's
have
going
to
to.
work again.
Yes, he's going to be on that TV show with that one. Seth Meyers, I think's his name, has a
Ah,
talk show. Seth Meyers is from Pittsburgh. He's going to get to be flown up there, get VIP treatment, and Seth just wants to see the card and hold it. So pretty cool. And he gets to meet Paul Skeens' girlfriend. He sat in a booth at spring training and watch a game with her. Look out, man. That kid's got the life. Yeah.
when I was 11, I was picking my nose and eating my boogers.
Oh, 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 Lord. Maybe I wasn't. I was real sneaky.
you were
Oh,
you were sneaky sexy, yeah.
sneaky sexy. That's right.
Oh.
Vince, did you want to talk about the Hall of Fame? Did you see?
I'm very pleased.
Me too. I
I
think it went great.
I think that's the three that we both said would get in, and great job. Ichiro was not unanimous.
That's well, I guess if Babe Ruth ain't unanimous, I guess nobody. Only Mariano Rivera. But I like to see that change. I like because who wouldn't put Ichiro on their ballot? I don't know who. They're not a baseball fan if you didn't vote for him.
Yeah, yeah. And
What was it? 99. I got it written down here. Uh 99.7% of the vote is what he got. 99.7.
that's somewhere around where what Tom Seaver had, and Tom Seaver held the record until Mariano Rivera
Oh,
uh, got the unanimous. I just think that
yeah,
that
it's
that that mindset is archaic.
yeah, I
There's
do too.
that's the old writers, because baseball writers used to think that they had more power than what they should have had because they voted for the Hall of Fame, and they had a lot of power that they shouldn't have had though. Um, but congratulations, CC Sabathia got in. I've heard a few people say, well, maybe he was borderline. How did he get on in the first? Well, let's face it, he was a Yankee. You know, he was
That
great in
helps.
Cleveland. He went to Milwaukee, was it '08, and just
Oh,
pitched the
they
daylights.
pitched him today. They pitched him to death. He'd come out 3 days rest. Boom, he pitched. He just
I think he
they
won like 10 of 11 games right down the stretch and put him in the playoffs, or said 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. And then Billy Wagner, who
I
we've been saying, yeah, this is probably the year he's finally going to get in.
think it was
And
his last year on the
yeah,
ballot, and he got 82.5%, and I couldn't be happier. There was a stretch, and I'm going to say 7 years, where he was maybe the best or right in the top two. And you did not want to face him. And he played on a lot of teams too. But I always think of him as a Houston Astro, Vince. What about you?
yeah, definitely an Astro, because in our division, we back then the Astros were in our division. We saw him a lot, and
Yes.
we he disappointed our teams a lot because when he came in, there was lights out. And small guy, about 5'10",
Yeah.
and he just generated so much power from that left arm. Was amazing, and his career ERA was like it's
Oh, I saw it. I didn't write it down.
it's the lowest ERA for anybody who's pitched over 900 innings in Major League Baseball. So I don't know what took so long, but yeah, he was.
July's going to be happening in Cooperstown because you have also have Dick Allen, Dave Parker, and the Cleveland Indians slash Guardians announcer who's been there, Tom Hamilton, I believe is his name, but he'll be there. So 6 new entries into the Hall of Fame, and I think that's a high number for the Hall of
Yeah,
Fame.
this is a good year for the Hall of Fame,
It
and
is.
um, it's not just it's six people that are going in. You have this the real superstars in uh, Ichiro, and I would also put Dick Allen as you've got two marquee players, and too bad Dick can't go to make a speech because boy, that could be interesting. But yeah, so you've got the upper level of the Hall of Fame, and I do believe that Ichiro and Dick Allen are right there at the upper level. Maybe not Ruthian, maybe not Pujols, but they're way up there. Um, so I think it would be a great year to go to the Hall of Fame, but I'm not going this year.
Not
So
this year. I'm waiting for Pujols and Yachty. If I go, that'll be nice. But I don't see Yachty getting in as quick as Albert. If Yachty gets in, I'm not saying he is. I hope so, but we'll see. But there was 2 players that did very well in the ballot, but just fell a little short, and that's Carlos Beltran. He got over 70, I think it was 70.3%, and you know I think he was almost no brainer. And then the whole thing with the cheating incident with Houston, and they lost his job. He was going to get hired by the Mets, and they they went back on that. So maybe they're overlooking that a little bit now, and he should make it. Great switch hitter, and then also Andrew Jones got 66.2, a lot of Gold Gloves. I think things are trending good for both of those eventually to get into the Hall of Fame as well.
yeah, I think Beltran's been punished enough. Um, I think it's a little bit more biting if you're doing it as a player, as opposed to doing it as a coach. So I don't. He was just coaching there when that happened, right? or was he playing
I
there?
thought it was his last year
Maybe is
playing, and he retired, and then he was going to go take the Mets job as
that's
a manager.
yeah, that's ringing bells now. So, well, the sad news. I mean, nobody likes to do obituaries. We do the players of note in the league, and then players that played for our teams, even if they were lesser players, we talk about them. But uh, Bob Uecker, he transcended Major League Baseball. He was a celebrity. Um, his TV show, Mr. Belvedere, the light beer commercials, which really made him a star at that time, the Major League movies, um, just a fabulously funny guy, entertaining guy, Johnny Carson's favorite guest. Um, but I will remember listening to him on the radio whenever would be fishing in Wisconsin when I was a kid, and he just really called the games right down the middle. He wasn't the hey, it's Bob Uecker. He wasn't that when he was doing the game. He was very serious. And isn't it kind of? Do you think he kind of knew something because he really got emotional when the Brewers got
Last
knocked out of the playoffs? You know.
I do. It came out that he was battling cancer the last 2 years of his life, and I seen him in the celebration when they won the division, and they're pouring champagne over him, and he's smiling. All the players loved him. Yelich, all those guys. Just he was just yeah. And I took a tour of the ballpark, and it was almost like Bud Selig and Bob Uecker and Hank Aaron. It was a true. The whole stadium's kind of a tribute to those three guys there, and of course, Yout Molitor. But man, you couldn't go down a hallway without being reminded that Hank Aaron and Bob Uecker and Selig was a part of their history. So yeah, I think he knew Vince. He was also an Army veteran. He went in the Army when he was 20 years old, spent 2 years, and he wanted to play baseball. So he was a soldier, but he also played baseball, and he played a year at Fort Leonard Wood. Or he was in the Army. One of his years was Fort Leonard Wood, and he played baseball with Dick Groat, the great Pittsburgh Pirate and St. Louis Cardinal. And then he was in Virginia the other year he was in the service. Some of the stats. I'm a stat guy, Vince. He only hit 14 home runs, but in those 14 home runs, he hit home runs off of Sandy Koufax, Gaylord Perry, Fergie Jenkins, and Ken Holtzman. And word is he never let them during the Hall of Fame thing. He never let them forget that he hit a home run against them. Hank Aaron would tell stories at the all when teams would come in and players would be sitting around talking, and Bob would come up, and Bob was self-deprecating. He was so cool, and Hank and people would give him trouble. Like Hank Aaron said, "Hey, Bob, this meeting ain't for you; it's for the hitters." So he'd walk off. Famous for in the '64 World Series with the Cardinals, he roomed with Tim McCarver, and McCarver said he just during these pennant stretches and day to day grind of the season, he had everybody laughing and kept everything lighthearted. I think he lost his World Series share because there was like a band playing and he grabbed the tuba when they took a break, was catching balls in the tuba, tore up the tuba, had to buy a new tuba for the tuba player. Um, he oh, I have so many stories. I don't want to spend our whole time celebrating the life of Bob Uecker, but just a one of a kind. He hosted Saturday Night Live, and the music guest, I always Saturday Night Live really is known for the music guest too, was Peter Wolf from the Jay Giles Band. So it's
Mm.
Bob Uecker and Peter Wolf. He was at two WrestleManias. Uh, he actually, I have a picture of Andre the Giant with his hands around his neck because he got smart aleck with Andre the Giant. He was the ring announcer for the Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, WrestleMania 3, and then he did some play by play at a Battle Royal at WrestleMania 4, and he's in the WWE Hall of Fame. That's one of his Hall of Fames. He made it into the Baseball Hall of Fame, and one of the things he went up there with not a note, Vince, and just freestyled it and said what kept him so long. He believes he should have been there as a player. And of course, George Brett and Warren Spahn and all those guys were laughing and carrying on. Um, three of those movies he made, he played himself in a lot of movies. Uh, and the World Championship, he wrote two books. And my gosh, in 67, he led the league. He led the National League with 27 pass balls and 11 errors. And so you could just go through here and find all these statistics, but I don't think anyone enjoyed life as much as Mr. Euchre, and he just made everyone around him at home and feel good. I've never heard one player or person ever talk bad about Bob Euchre, and he'll be missed. It was great to go up there. He's got two statues at Milwaukee. He's got one outside. It says Mr. Baseball, and he's standing there. And then there's one at the very top sitting there in the Bob Euchre seats, which sometime the Brewers sell for $1 a piece. And you can go sit in the Euchre seats at the top of the stadium. And there's a statue you can go sit next to. And he's got his arm like that, so you can sit there like his buddy. And good friends with Norm Macdonald. A lot of comedians love him. Artie Lang. And you mentioned Johnny Carson. So, man, will be missed. Bob Euchre, one of my favorite people. And when I look at these cards, Vince, I got a couple of Bob Euchres. I can't help but smile. Bob Euchre, I don't know, something about him. He's always got I don't know, aura about him, about just a smile on his face and stuff. So, anyway, that's my little tribute to Euchre. I love him.
Yeah, my daughter Rebecca, who's dating Brendan, who has been on the show from Milwaukee, participated in the sausage race. His mother, Kim, was also on the show where you and her talked about the '82 World Series.
Yes, sir.
But Rebecca texted me. She said, "Did you hear Bob Euchre died?" I said, "Yeah, I heard." She said, "Brendan's crying."
Oh, I did that for Jack Buck. When Jack Buck, oh man, I was a mess.
Well, she was joking, and
Mm.
so Brendan got a little mad. Don't tell him that I'm crying. Oh,
Oh man. Well, Vince, I'd be remorse to not mention Jeff Torborg too.
oh yes.
Yeah, a longtime catcher. He played at Rutgers. He was a catcher, a good man. Born in New Jersey, 83 years old. Was in the '65 World Series with the Dodgers. Played with the Dodgers and the Angels. Um, Played 10 years, and 9 of those he was a backup catcher. But in those years, he backed up some of the great pitchers of all time. You got John Roseboro. Uh, he played for Walt Alston and Bobby Winkles with the Angels, and he caught no hitters by uh, uh, Don Sutton. Well, he played with Koufax, Drysdale, Sutton, Osteen, Ryan, Nolan Ryan, and Messersmith. Wow, right there. But he caught Koufax's perfect game in 1965 and a no hitter by Nolan Ryan in '70 and Bill Singer in 1973. So to be the catcher of a perfect game and two more no hitters, that's pretty remarkable. He's been an announcer for CBS Radio and Fox Sports and the Atlanta Braves, and he did not. And this is, in the old days of baseball, he didn't smoke, drink, or swear, which is pretty unusual for a baseball player back in those days. And let's see, 5 managerial jobs. I always think of him with the White Sox for some reason. That's the team that I
Yeah,
remember the
he
most.
won a Manager of the Year when
That's right.
they
He did win manager of the
the
year.
playoffs. Yeah,
So anyway, just thinking of him and his family and his son. Me and my wrestling. His
the
son was
Demon.
the demon, the kit guy in WCW. For those of you that remember that, very good, Vince.
Oh
Very
yeah,
good.
yeah. Killed his wrestling career playing that character. Poor guy.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah. Oh well, couple of things. The New York Metropolitans have been busy. They re-signed Jesse Winker, who got traded there last year, so they upped him for another year there. A good bat to have. Kind of like a three-quarter player. He doesn't play full time, but he's a little more than part time. he gets his time in, and he can get a hold of a few pitches every now and then, take it deep. So, a good player to have on the team, and he certainly gave them some help when they needed it. Made the playoffs, so they're keeping him around. They also signed relief pitcher AJ Minter to a 2-year contract. Good time in baseball to be a relief pitcher. Boy, they're getting
Amen.
signed like crazy.
Amen.
Uh, Anthony Santander signed a 5-year deal with the Blue Jays. And what do you have? 44, 45 home runs last year
I
in
heard 44 is what I remember.
Baltimore. So we'll see. The Toronto, a little bit harder to hit home runs. And I know his metrics, if you overlaid his home runs on most ballparks, he would have had a lot of flyouts to the deep outfield. So that's probably kind of why some teams were hesitant. The Blue Jays, I don't want to use the word desperate, but they really are needing a playoff appearance with the talent they've had with Guerrero Jr. probably in his last year there. So they're trying to make a good push for that. So hopefully he has a good season there. Um, JJ,
Yes.
you want to talk about that nasty team?
Oh, the Mets? Oh,
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 nasty.
yes. It used to be the Mets. It used to be the Yankees, but now it's the Dodgers. What the heck, Vince? What are we going to do? Last year, we almost blew a gasket because they went out and got everybody. Well, they're doing it again this year. Deferred payments. I don't know how they're going to pay all this. I'm not a financial guy, as you can tell. I live in a closet with Cardinal stuff, but God love them. I mean, it's always good to have an evil empire that everybody, that us Cub and Cardinal fans can agree on. We got to beat these guys. So anytime anybody beats the Rockies, Marlins, I don't care who you are, I'm excited. I'm celebrating. But they went out and got Suzuki, the pitcher, which Roki Suzuki, which we thought, well, I all along thought he was going there anyway. Took less money. Everybody, some people I've heard on the internets and the podcasts that there's a chance of people are not happy about the other owners and teams are not happy about it. That maybe something was under the table. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what
And
Jim Bowden says that there's some there's the rumors out there, and I guess it's not it's more than just a rumor. There's somebody has leaked something that there was a deal under the table, and Jim Bowden, who I really respect, he's saying that this is something that they're going to demand an investigation about. So we shall see.
I wouldn't think they had to. I mean, his friends are Yamamoto and Otani, and I'm sure they could get on the phone and talk to him. And I mean, who wouldn't want to play with your friends? I understand that. And they had another signing too, didn't they? Oh,
Two
two
more
more.
signings.
I know a reliever that was it
They
was a
signed
Tanner
Tanner
Scott.
Scott, who brings his 1.75 and 22 saves ERA. Uh, it was between them and the Cubs. The Cubs offered him a great deal, 4 years at about 60 some odd million, which in my mind is an overpay for a guy who has certainly had a couple of decent seasons, but he's also been a little inconsistent in his career. Maybe he's put it all together. I don't know. I don't trust giving relievers that many years.
I'm with you.
And if you run your organization good, your closers should come up through the minor league system. And I will give a lot of credit to the Cardinals. That's what they have used since I guess Eckersley left. They have developed their own closers, and they've been quite good at that. When you look at like, Helsley and
And Perez,
Rosenthal, Perez, um,
Ryan
just
Franklin.
yeah, just a lot of guys that they've developed to be closers, and that's the pattern that I want the Cubs to take. I don't like blowing big money on closers because that is the most volatile acquisition you can make. There are not a whole lot of Aroldis Chapmans or Craig Kimbrels or Kenley's Jansen. Not a whole lot of them around. Most relievers that are closers have kind of a short shelf life,
I
three,
agree.
4 years at the top where they can do it. Um, the guys that last a long time, those are the outliers. So I didn't mind the Cubs not getting him. I just don't want the Dodgers to get him. Kirby Yates, they signed today. So
Oh, I
he's
didn't know
bringing
about Kirby
us
Yates.
1.13, 33 saves to Los Angeles. Kirby Yates is 38 years old.
He's had some good years, but it's been a while back now.
Well, yeah, he had an excellent year last year.
Oh, did he? I
Um,
always know his name's out there every once in a while. I see him at the top of the save things, but then he'll be gone. He'll pop back up.
yes. So who's going to close? I don't know which one.
They got 8 starters.
I remember the years when the Yankees had Gossage and Sparky Lyle both.
Oh, yeah.
There have been some teams that have gone with a couple of closers.
Wetland and
Um,
Rivera with the Yanks,
yeah,
too. They
yeah, yeah. So, um, you, I don't know.
Nasty
This,
boys. They can just go to the fifth inning, bring in the Nasty boys.
yeah, this is what bothers me. The Dodgers TV deal pays them 335 million a year until 2038. No other team is even close to that. Okay. So, do you think luxury taxes bother them? No, because that's not including ticket sales, and they now have the highest tickets in Major League Baseball, the highest concessions in Major League Baseball, and they have the biggest stadium as far as seating in the National League. So they fill it up. They've got revenue coming in from TV, from the games. They also have these international players, which means that they sell a crap ton of merchandise that the Dodgers get a piece of. They're a money making machine. Now, there's nothing that can be done about this until the next CBA, which I think is in
27.
2027.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that can be done about this. And that's why I said um, a week or two ago, we need to at least have a salary floor because I want Pittsburgh, I want Miami, I want Sacramento, whatever they're going to call that, or eventually Vegas. I want these teams, even if they're not competitive, they all need to be able to afford somebody that compels fans to go see. And when you're that cheap, like Pittsburgh, Miami, you're not going to have a star player that has any traction because as soon as they reach free agency, they're going to be gone a lot of times before because they're going to trade them away to get more assets. So if you have a salary floor, that would kind of like say, okay, every team, you can afford a star. Maybe you can't afford a Soto, but you can afford something to draw people to. And what I see happening with the Dodgers just stockpiling all these all stars, this isn't unprecedented. The Yankees used to do this because there there wasn't a draft and they had more money than anyone else and they would go out to the best prospects in college and high school and they would just gather them up. And that's why the Yankees sustained greatness for so long is because they had players in the minor leagues that were major league caliber that couldn't even get a break because they couldn't play in front of Mantle or they couldn't play in front of Gehrig. They couldn't play pitch in front of Whitey Ford. So they had all these star players there, and that's how New York dominated. That was a different era of baseball. That was an era of baseball when baseball was the number one sport. And so when you're the St. Louis Browns or you're the Philadelphia A's and you don't have a lot of people coming in, boy, when the Yankees came to town, you would fill up the stadium. We're in a different era of baseball. You're not going to have people coming into Pittsburgh just to see the Dodgers come into town anymore because now there's all this animosity and hatred, and baseball just isn't that popular anymore. They need to do something at this next CBA to ensure that every team can have a competitive, uh, not necessarily level playing field, but something more competitive than have the Dodgers because they have this obscene amount of money to just go on, pick who they want. They have $1.7 billion in deferred money now.
Oh
Tommy
Lord.
Edmonds has deferred money. They're doing that with everybody.
I love Tommy Evans, but we couldn't afford that.
It's ridiculous. So kudos to them for playing within the rules. And as people say, don't hate the player, hate the game. Right now, I hate the game, not the game of baseball. I hate the game of the finances of baseball. They need to change the rules and say no more deferred payments. And if they do that, the Dodgers would still have an advantage because they have all this revenue stream and they can go over the luxury tax. But by golly, they can't entice people by saying, you know what, we'll pay you until you're 107.
I Yeah, the players are loving it, and they've always had good minor leagues and always got. They were the first ones that built those academies where they got all these Hispanic players and came in and had all just a revenue of these players coming in that did fantastic for them. So part of it they are fantastic at working that. But yeah, the system that is broken. I agree with you. And just this week, the Cardinals and the Cubs had their winter warm-ups, and both I know Mozeliak and somebody on your end, they were talking about, well, we just want to break even, like on the thing and about spending. And I think the Cubs have a better. I mean, it's Chicago and St. Louis, and beautiful Wrigley Field brings tons of fans. You got a great fan base, and I know they've got some money, but it just seems like I don't know, they're hanging on to it, and uh, but they're spending wisely because you can't go in a arms race with the Yankees and the Dodgers. It's a losing game for anybody. You have to way overpay for players. So I will give you some good news, Vince. The Oakland A's, or Sacramento A's, I'm sorry. I was looking at their roster, and they have went over. They've really spent this year, and I guess they were getting some. People were giving them trouble. Other owners, the game was like, hey, you guys need to go out and spend some money. They moved to Sacramento, and they've actually made some moves. They at third base, they're going to play Urshela, who was with the Yankees. He's went there, and Luis Severino, and they just picked up Jose Leclerc, the star of the Rangers, who was their closer, had an off year last year, but now he's going to be the setup man for Mason Miller, and TJ McFarland's there too. So, and then they've got Kyle McCain in the bullpen, and Raúz, who 1 year I think led the league in stolen bases, is on the bench. I think they're making an effort, and I'm with you with the floor, the spending floor. These teams have to. They're getting all this revenue from the teams that go over. They ought to be out there spending it. And there should be a limit, and not put these teams like where they can't. It hurt their financial thing, but the owners just seem like they're really know that, hey, we're going to be getting this money, and they're living a pretty good life. You got to spend so much on your team, or get ready sell your team to somebody who will keep the team there and be more involved and make it, at least give it a fighting effort or something. So I'm with you, Vince. In 2027, we might see a shutdown for a little while or some hardcore negotiations and see what happens there.
I think that would be if they shut it down when they came back, it would be uh, probably below hockey.
Yeah.
I think that would turn off enough fans that, yeah, that would be. I think Major League Baseball would survive in some form, but the last time we had a work stoppage when baseball was more popular in the 90s, brought it back, and it wasn't
Lost the
really
World
any
Series out of
race.
that
Yeah,
too.
it was. It's that nobody would win there. I will contend, and I'll break this down with the Cubs pretty soon. Um, I think the Cardinals have more money than the Cubs, and
Think so? I don't know.
I'll tell you why. The Cardinal fan base is huge, and I mean geographically, because they were the furthest team out west, the furthest team south for so many years. You have third, fourth generation Cardinal fans that are living in Mississippi, living in Colorado, living in these places where that was their team. Um, St. Louis is a small city in comparison to other large cities, um, but it's kind of an anomaly when it comes to baseball because they do have such drawing power from all over. KMOX used to be able to be picked up all over the Midwest and the South. So I there's just Cardinal fans just about everywhere. The Cardinals have not had to spend out of pocket like the Cubs have. They didn't have to lift their stadium up and completely undergird the whole thing and then drop it back down without it falling apart like the Cubs have. They didn't expand out underneath the street and everywhere like the Cubs have done. They had to do to get themselves the modern conveniences without building a new stadium. The Cardinal fans have not had to spend that much. The thing about baseball is the owners don't have to disclose what they're making. So I'm not sure that the Cardinals are in bad financial shape at all. In fact, I'm sure they're not. I mean, they uh, attendance was bad this last year, and it's probably going to be bad this year. But if they bounce back and they're competitive, the fans are going to come right back.
Oh yeah.
And their merchandise sells well. They've got a great tradition, and I I I think the Cardinals are content being competitive and trying to catch lightning in a bottle. I don't begrudge business owners for trying to make money. I really don't. That's their business. They own it. They can do what they want. It's up to the, if I'm a plumber and I think I'm the best plumber and I offer the best plumbing services, I might charge more than everybody else. And that's going to turn some people off just who are doing price comparison. But you know what? It's my plumbing business. And if people choose not to use me because of the prices, I'll go out of business. Um, I, you know, I don't begrudge owners for making money. Um, I'm just I'll talk about when I get to the Cubs. I'm just not sure the Cubs are in as great financial shape as people think, and the Cardinals, I just don't think they're as poor as they kind of lead you to believe.
It's smart strategy telling everybody how poor you are. So when we don't sign anybody, we're like, well, yeah, we don't have no money. I mean, that's smart because they got me going. Oh, okay. And I like to see the young guys play, and there's a lot of young guys I'm very excited about this year. So we'll see. It's gonna be fun.
You ready
It's
to get
gonna
the Cardinal news?
well. Hey, I got one thing to go over before that.
Okay.
February 8th, our friends at A Boy's Dream Hobby Shop are having a big signing. Jason Mott is going to be there. I've
Former
been
Cub Jason Mott.
a former Cardinal Cub, yes, Jason Mott, and I picked up some cards of his, so we know ahead of time that Jason's going to be there. But also, they're having like a town festival where you go get to, and they're giving prizes away at different businesses and stuff. But at the Red Barn, they're having a card show that that February 8th. It's a Saturday. The card show is I had the times written down 10 to 4. The card show is 10 to 4. There'll be vendors there and people can trade cards, buy cards, sell cards, whatever you want. And every hour they're going to have some free prizes and things like that. And then over at the card shop, Jason Mott will be signing from 12 to 2. And our good friends gave us some prizes to give away on our podcast. So this week, if you guys are interested, we're going to have drawings next week, if that's okay, Vince. And we have two Jose Canseco items. One is the famous Bash Brothers picture, and Jose Canseco signed it. So next week we'll give that away. We'll just have a drawing in the middle of the show. Just say, hey, let's do a drawing. And the other one is the famous Jose Canseco picture from The Simpsons, and he signed that too. So that's pretty cool. And a Ray Langford card, a Bowman. Ray Langford autograph card. Uh, anyway, so next week we'll have a drawing. Just send in, say, hey, yeah, put me in the drawing. And last time we did this, we had about 4 items. I think it was on our 100th episode. So thanks to our friends down there in Caledonia. And things are fantastic there. And I tell you what, they're bringing in some players. And, oh, they told me another player that's coming. And I don't want to say because I forgot. We've been talking about so many players, but they do have another player on the schedule to be coming into town. So as soon as I know for sure, I'll let everybody know out there. So before I just wanted to get that out of the way, Vince, and I'll mention it again at the end of the show here.
Okay, very
All
cool.
righty, pretty cool, huh? Yeah. All right. Cardinal news. Let me see. I got so many notes here, Vince. I'm all over the place. All right, we had the winter warm up. John Mose, all the players came out and talked. One of my things about the winter warm up this year, they had the players come out and they had kids under the age of 16 ask them questions like, hey, how did you decide on what number you wanted? And I seen some videos of that and it looked fantastic. So it's just a time for players and fans to get out, socialize, and get some autographs. And then the Cardinal Caravan went around and kind of the same thing was going on there too. So I thought that was so cool. But John Mozeliak spoke and he said the number one priority, number 1, 2, and 3 right now is to get a deal done for Nolan Arenado. Now, I'm not sure exactly if it's Mozeliak just wanting to move Nolan and get rid of that contract, all that money that's involved, or is it Nolan not happy and wanting to leave or just go play for a contender? I know we had a deal set up. The Cardinals had a deal set up with the Astros, and I think they pretty much had it done. And I'm sure they would have okayed it with him. And then somewhere along the way, he stopped it, which is right. He has a no trade clause. So Nolan is still part of the team. If he's with us at the beginning of the year, I'll be so happy. He's Hall of Famer, and it's fun watching him play, and he's just a special player. And if he leaves, I understand that too. That's baseball business, but it's been great having him while he's been here. So that's what's kind of going on there. The Cardinals signed 9 players to minor league contracts. We also, let's see, invited a lot of players to the minor league prospects getting invites to spring training. Drew Rom, J.J. Reinhold, who I'm excited to watch him play with the big boys in spring training. That'll be fun. Chase Davis, who's had a great minor league career so far and could be a part of the future. So some of these players this year, we're going to see what we got. Is Lars Newbar a starter? Should be a starter, or is he a fourth outfielder? Or what do we got there? So Chase Davis is coming. One of our number 1 draft choices, Cooper. It's H-J-E-R-P-E. I can't even pronounce that name, Vince, but
Smith.
Smith, to his friends. It's Smith. Quinn Matthews, the number 1 pitcher in the minors last year, who went from rookie ball all the way to AAA. He's going to be there. And Jimmy Crooks, who's our Cardinal top hitting prospect. He's a catcher. And we've just been blessed with a fortune of catchers through the years. And Crooks looks like he might be the guy to take over catcher eventually. But I know this year's probably going to be Ivan Herrera. That's exciting. In the draft with the foreign players, we got 5 infielders, 4 outfielders, 2 pitchers, and a catcher. But the player of note that I know anything about is a kid. He's a center fielder named Rolon. It's his last name's Stroop, who his father pitched in the bullpen, Pedro Stroop, for the Cubbies.
Oh
So
yeah.
he is 16-year-old kid, and we'll see. These are long shots. These are kids, and I think that with the money they get further their education, and then they're part of the team, and they'll be working their way up and playing in these other countries and things like that. So we'll see what we got. But basically, that's baseball news. The Cardinals haven't made a whole lot of deals, just some minor league deals here and there. So we'll see. It's kind of business as usual for the Cardinals, and looks like Nolan Arenado. That's the main thing he's going to be working on is finding him a home. And I've heard so many rumors, but I really at this point, Vince, I'm kind of tired, and I don't. I'm just going to wait to see what the final verdict is. So that's it in the Cardinal news right there.
In the Cubs news, we had our Cubs convention. By the way, JJ, uh, maybe next year you can go to the Cardinal winter warm up. I can go to the Cubs convention, and
Take
then
some
we just
video.
come back and do our thing and talk about,
Yeah.
you know,
You know what? That'd be a good adventure. I like that.
yeah, I'd be very expensive for me. I'd have to drive and get the hotel and everything, but
Or you could go to the Cardinal and I'll go to the Cub and we'll take, a fish out of water thing.
now I want to do that.
All right.
Cubs convention. Sammy Sosa was there, and welcome back to the fold.
Yeah.
Uh, Still very polarizing. There are people who were like, and he was doing his dancing and everything, and people were like, okay. And there were
Well,
other people like, he's the greatest thing. I'm to a point now where, yeah, fine, he's back. The For the fans who love him, great. For the fans who are still a little miffed at him, like me, I'm a little miffed at him. More so for leaving the team.
yeah.
For me, that's just the unpardonable sin in athletics of any kind when you bail on your team.
Yeah.
But enough times passed if he wants to do this and come back to the team's taking him, whatever. But he is going to be this year's inductee into the Chicago Cubs Hall of Fame along with Derek Lee. So Derek Lee
Fantastic.
and Sammy Sosa will be inducted into the Chicago Cub Hall of Fame, where there's apparently no steroid restrictions.
Well, I think we have McGuire in ours. So, hey,
Yeah. So
special wing.
um, in the uh, in the convention, uh, Tom Ricketts was there, and you already talked about the quote. He said that you know our goal is to break even, and that got fans up in arms. Um, I I wish he would have verbalized that a different way because what it came across to the fans was our goal is to not lose money, not to win. And that's not what he was saying. He was saying our goal as a business is to at least break even,
Yeah.
which means we want to win. But from a business perspective, we want to break even because we don't want to spill over and overspend what we don't have budgeted for the year, which is what any sound business person is going to say or going to do. But with baseball, with a sports team, you can't verbalize it. And he just verbalized it wrong. I do not think that this ownership group is cheap. I've said it on here before, they're not cheap. Read the tea leaves. They had before the pandemic, if they needed someone, they would get them and they would pay them and they would pay them competitively. There is something going on here to where there are some financial restraints and the problem with it is the Chicago Cub fan base sees the Dodgers and well the Dodgers get why can't we? We're the Chicago Cubs. Well, Chicago Cubs don't have that $335 million deal going on. They are not in Southern California. I, on a very basic level, where do people want to live? In Chicago, where it's cold during the winter, very cold, you're on the lake. Yeah, it's nice during the summer. Or would you rather live in Southern California? Well, you got the fires now, but
Yeah.
I mean, take that away. Where would you rather want to live? Southern
Yeah.
California is just much more appealing. So we don't have that kind of money. We don't have that kind of aesthetics. I had a guy tell me a few weeks ago that because he was complaining that we did not get the pitcher that went to Arizona,
Corbin Burns.
Corbin Burns, yeah. And I said his wife lives there and his twin kids are there. He
You
wants to
can't
be
compete
there.
with that.
And this guy actually said that has nothing to do with it. It's all about the money. And I'm thinking, have you been around humanity long? There are some people who actually do like their families. Probably you don't like yours and yours don't like you. That's because you think, probably because you think that the best, most important thing to do is to make money. There are people who like their families. I think it was just that simple. He wanted to be close to his wife and kids. He got a competitive offer from Arizona. He went there.
Darby
So,
Swanson with the Cubs.
yeah, yeah.
Same kind of deal.
Now, not only do we not have that kind of revenue, we also spent $575 million renovating Wrigley Field so we could stay on the premises. It's not cheap to burrow into the ground underneath the streets and to make amenities and to do it up to code. They had to lift the stadium to undergird it so it wouldn't, the foundation wouldn't crumble anymore and set it back down. Amazing what they have had to invest with into this team is tremendous. Um, they were banking that Marquee was going to really be a hit. It came out right when the pandemic started, which was that's not the best time to launch a TV station. On top of that, this page of notes. Uh, the network struggled with the negotiations with cable, satellite, and streaming services. So they did not have this great launch making all this great money. And the fans in Chicago were used to watching the Cub games for free on WGN and
Uh-huh.
other networks, NBC in Chicago. And suddenly here they are, they're going to have to pay to watch the games. It just kind of went over like a Led Zeppelin, not the band, the term. So lead balloon, I guess, is a better word to say. So amid launching Marquee at the tail end of the renovations, COVID happened, and the ownerships did. They were honest with the fans. We've had biblical losses, not meaning that we've had the same losses every other team with the loss of revenue. We also were counting on that revenue to continue to pay for and finish paying up the renovations and to have a proper launch of Marquee, and it didn't happen. So I'm in the minority. I don't believe this ownership group is cheap. I do believe they have cash restraints at this time, and I do think they will overcome them. So a lot of people that I heard on the radio coming back from Cubs convention were very angry at this statement that we're trying to break even. That's our goal. Sometimes you say something that in your mind is so commonsensical, you don't realize that when you say it, it's coming across bad to the listener. I'll give you something I said that I will forever regret. I had two daughters. I had Tabitha, then I had Evelyn. I did not know the gender of any of my kids before they were born. Did not. I kind of like the surprise.
Yeah.
So when my ex-wife was pregnant for the third child, I thought, I don't care if I have a boy or a girl. I've got two girls. I'm pretty good being a dad to girls.
Yeah.
I guess doesn't matter to me. But when the child was born and the child was a male, it was like, oh my gosh, I've got a son now.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of telling my 12-year-old daughter at the time, I didn't realize how bad I wanted a son until I had a son. And I wasn't saying I'm boys are superior to girls or anything like that. I was just saying out loud, at that time, I was thinking, I don't care if it's a boy or a girl. But after I had him, is yeah, it's cool to have a boy. I didn't know how bad I would want one, but it would have been. the same thing if I would have had two boys
Yeah.
and then the girl came along. But my daughter, it hurt her feelings because
Oh,
she thought that I was saying, yeah, you're not as good because you're not a boy. And that was not what I was saying. Sometimes you say things and it comes across bad to the listener. And I think that's just the case what happened here with the Cubs, with Ricketts saying this. Also, earlier in the week, Jed Hoyer did a great interview on the Recap podcast with Dave Kapler and Gord Whitmire. Did a great job explaining where the Cubs were, that the Cubs are not finished spending money. And I don't think they're finished spending money. They have been making their efforts. They're just being outdone by teams that have more appealing situations at this time. So I certainly expect them to go for some of the free agents that are left to help the team. And I certainly would not rule out that there's maybe a trade on the horizon um, for a starting pitcher out there. We certainly do need a left-handed bat that can play first base. So we're not done yet. Couple other things. The Ian Happ podcast, The Compound. He did have Sammy on this week, and I don't think that's dropped yet. So I'm looking forward to
okay.
listening to that. I'll try to see if I can find that tomorrow because that would be a very interesting thing to hear Sammy actually give a long interview for the first
Yeah.
time in decades, actually.
Well,
So
yeah.
that's going to be interesting to me. So I believe that's all I have with Cub news. But you know who else would give a really good 1 hour interview?
He's always on. You could call him in the 2 o'clock in the morning, wake him up, and he'd give a great interview. Jeremy Connor.
Jeremy Connors, the best interview. Comes a time in every man's life when he needs some advice on relationships. You need to listen to the podcast DMDR, which stands for Dating, Marriage, Divorce, Remarriage, from my good friend Jeremy Connor, the Dr. Phil of the Boot Hill. You can find DMDR on Spotify or whatever platform you choose to listen to your podcast. And welcome to our next segment. We have a special guest. We have Will Elmore, and he has a skill that I have never heard of. And I'm going to let JJ take it from here because JJ is very familiar with you, and I've just met you.
Right. Well, I was just scanning the internet looking for baseball things. What could the baseball fan that has everything get? What's new on the horizon? That's right.
Right.
And I came across your web page, Card Belts, and I was just amazed. And then I see there was a video link where you were on the Card Life show, and you were just so personable and nice, and you just had a passion for it. So, would you tell us about your business? I think a lot of our listeners would be excited to hear about this.
Sure. Yeah. Card Belts was a project that started during the original COVID lockdown. At the time, my sons were 9 and 11, and we're just looking for ways to kill time. And I was a collector as a kid, but during the junk wax era, so like my fifth grade through eighth grade years was my core collecting time, and so that was, I don't know, 86 to 90. So
Oh yeah.
core junk wax, like if I ever came across like an 82 card, I was like, this is gold, even if it's junk. But so anyway, so I had a ton of cards that were my own. And the Thanksgiving before COVID, my mom and dad separately did this thing. They're divorced and they have been most of my life, but where they were like, hey, we're clearing our houses of stuff that we don't want you to have to deal with someday. So, and my dad said, do you want my baseball cards? And I was like, well, if you're going to get rid of them, yes. Because I knew he had a lot of stuff, but I knew that it was like duplicate stuff. Because when I was collecting, he went back to collecting. He was one of those baby boomers who had a shoebox full of Mickey Mantles that got thrown in the trash,
Oh.
And so once I started collecting as a kid, my dad got back into it, and I didn't realize that he was buying, like, even once I got into high school and college, he was buying full sets and just leaving them wrapped of all 4 or 5 brands. So he shows up one Thanksgiving, and I couldn't. I mean, again, all junk wax for the most part, like mid to late 80s through the early 90s. But so anyway, so I put them in my crawl space. I'm like, I don't have room for this stuff, you know? But I didn't want him to throw them away. But so anyway, flash forward to COVID, and my sons and I just start making all these crazy piles, you know, just sorting stuff into, you know, first by team or favorite player, and then like, here's an Afros pile. Here's like funny glasses and all of the different themes, you know, guys on telephones. Like there's a whole like from the 70s on, there's all these cards with guys on telephones, you know, on the sideline, or guys with the big, huge cell phones. You know, so anyway, so they were 9 and 11, and it's COVID, and we've got after it in the garage. I'm like, well, it seems ridiculous to just put these back in boxes back down into the crawl space, never to be seen again. And clearly had time on my hands. So, you know, the original thing that I wanted to build with cards was a wallet for my brother-in-law. So I'm from Texas. I've lived half my life in Colorado now, but I'm a diehard Texas Rangers fan, and so is my brother-in-law. And you know, I was like, I'm gonna make a wallet out of guys that we mutually really didn't like growing up. You know, I won't name names, but you know, because like, but God, you just as a gag gift. And then I realized, like, well, you can only really see so many cards on a wallet, you know. And so I don't know how I landed on belts, but I was like, maybe I could build a belt. And you know, once I built one that I was like, this actually looks pretty cool. It immediately broke, you know, because it was the first version, but I'm like, okay, this might work, you know. And so flash forward a couple of months where I've gotten to where I've started building belts and sending them to friends without saying they're coming, you know, just like friend that's a Red Sox fan, here's an all Roger Clemens belt or whatever, just shows up in the mail, you know. Um, and so once I got confident that they weren't going to break, I'm like, I could probably sell these. Let's see. And so my background is in digital marketing, and I'm also a photographer. So you know, all the website, all the photography, every single part of this job is a one man show. Minus, I say that my sons do all kinds of sorting and you know, work for me, but for the most part, it's a one man show of building all these belts. So anyway, like September 2020, I make my first sale a few months in to the process of building. And I got the website live. I threw like 30 complete, you know, 30 built belts onto the website just to see what would happen. And first belt was a Dodgers belt, some guy in Los Angeles. So I was like, all right, this might be a thing that works. So you know, it's been a slow up and down like process. I mean, it really, I'm 4 years into this, and it really probably took 2.5 years for me to fully have the entire process down where it is fluid. Like if I buy 60,000 cards off of Craigslist, once they're sorted, they get funneled right into my system of, you know, of organization. I know where everything is. So, you know, if somebody orders a all Don Mattingly belt, it's already ready to be pulled and sliced up and built. Like I know where everything is. And yeah, and so the Card Life thing happened a couple summers ago. It was amazing. I got to be on that show. And I don't know if you saw, but this past summer, Matt Strom, who is the host of the Card Life, he wore a card belt of himself when he struck Bobby Witt Jr. out in the All-Star game. He wore it on the field in the game. It was amazing.
Oh man, that'd be the highlight of my day right there.
I know I just spewed a lot of information, but that's my 4 year handmade belt journey. Is that I'm cranking along, and you know, I'm every, you know, after Christmas, January is always kind of slow, so I get a big catch up of I've been sorting a bunch of cards and getting ready for spring training to hit, and you know, ready for this season to start, because I do sell football and hockey and garbage pail kids and a bunch of weird off stuff, but baseball cards are probably 85 or 90% of the belts I sell, you know. And then football is second after that, but the big focus is baseball. Although when I find weird stuff, you know, like Spider-Man cards or you know, Dallas the TV show, I mean, the cards were made for everything. And so it's fun to find the weird stuff, and you know, especially when somebody buys one of those weird belts, like who's buying this, and thank you, you know.
Now, they made Charlie's Angels trading cards when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Kiss trading cards.
Yep.
What is the oddest thing that you have seen that you've been requested?
Was that I mean, the oddest thing, it wasn't a request. It was, I've sent a couple of these to friends again with no warning other than don't open these in front of your kids.
Oh,
You know, like 70s porno plain, you know? And so I'm actually going to meet a buddy Thursday. I'm meeting a buddy in Durham Thursday.
Oh, really? What's her name?
Yeah, it's a buddy that I've sent one of these belts to, and I guarantee you, when I get to the airport and he picks me up, that he will have that belt on. But so yeah, like so the Kiss trading cards, I've never come across any of those in the wild because I assume if you've got those, you want to keep those and they're protected. But one guy sent me some of those original ones. I mean, they looked brand new and he wanted me to make a belt out of them. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And when I get something like that sent to me, I'm like, I can't mess this up.
Oh yeah.
Like, like these will be expensive to replace if I can even find them, you know? And so like that happened with the Matt Strom belt. So like before the All-Star game this summer, the producer of the Card Life, like it was the Sunday, like 9 days prior to the All-Star game. And the producer of the Card Life messaged me and he's like, hey, Matt wants to wear a belt to the All-Star game. Can you build him a belt? I'm like, yes, I can, and but I knew I didn't have enough enough of his cards in Phillies gear. He played for the Red Sox and the Padres. So like I can build a belt for you, but I don't know if it'll be all Phillies cards. And so Brandon, the producer's like, no, I'm sending you the cards. And like I guess I would say I'm a collector of cards because I was as a kid and because I have 500,000 cards sorted by team or by player in my garage. But the stuff I keep isn't really valuable. The stuff I keep is funny or the stuff that I pulled from packs, like all of the King Griffey Jr. rookie cards I pulled from packs. I'm never getting rid of those. I won't sell them. I won't put them on. I say that. I probably will put one of them on a belt. But like the stuff that means something to me generally doesn't have value. And so all the new stuff, other than knowing that boxes of cards are really expensive now, like I don't know anything about the ins and outs of like all the chrome cards and all of those things. So when I received the cards to build this all-star belt, they're these beautiful chrome, but it was the rainbow. He collected the rainbow of this Matt Strom card. And again, I saw these and was like, I can't screw this up. And on top of that, didn't realize that it was his own collection that he had gathered over months. So I'm like, so anyway, it totally worked out. But that's my only stress ever building a belt is, one dude sent me some like early 1960s Pirates cards to build a belt out of, and I'm like, there's a Clemente here. I hope I don't screw this belt up. So, yeah.
Well, Will, on your website, you have a lot of your belts on there, and you have a list of everybody that's on the belt, and you can enlarge the picture, take a look at it.
Yeah.
But what's your biggest sellers? What's like your top two or three that people? Is it a team belt? Is it a player belt?
Yep.
What's the big ones?
By team, it's Dodgers, Cardinals, Phillies. In no particular order, those three teams are the most popular. But then individual player, it is. I keep thinking that there's someone's going to sneak in and change the ranking, but it's Ricky Henderson, Don Mattingly, Dale Murphy, Ozzie Smith, Willie McGee, Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is the only modern guy that's in the like everybody wants one, but all of those 80s, early 90s guys, it's that crew of guys. Like those are the most frequent orders are those guys, which is cool because those were the guys when I was from elementary school through high school that were, the studs. And so it's fun and luckily for me as the person that has these cards as materials, finding tons of Don Mattingly's isn't that expensive, and, like, because the move for me is once I, like this sort of off season for me is November through January, except holiday sales are always really, pretty strong, but I'm able to still do sorting and do the like non-belt building work. But when I have the time, I find someone, and the story is always the same. I'm 49, so it's usually someone about my age, or maybe someone as young as mid 30s, and it's my wife and I are redoing our basement, and she says I get rid of these boxes, and so I don't care what's in it. It'd be like $500 for 80,000 cards. It truly doesn't matter what's in there because I know that there will be a ton of Don Mattingly's and a ton of Vince Coleman's and a ton of the like junk wax stuff that I actively sells. So in the event that there's like 3 or 4 rows of cards from 2020 or 2022, I'm like, well, that's a bonus because buying those packs, are you kidding me? Buying those packs and then slicing those cards up would make no financial sense,
Yeah.
Where I get all this new stuff that I truly don't care about. Like don't get me wrong, I'll pull some Corey Seagers as still a Ranger guy. I will still pull stuff that like I'm currently as I sort and pull stuff and am gathering Bruce Bochy cards of all eras to build a Bochy belt is like my hero. Finally, a manager. So truly, the stuff I care about is sort of weird and obscure. I mean, absolutely, if I find something of value, I'm not gonna slice it up. But I've definitely caught some heat on social media, on a post like you cut that Tony Gwynn card up, and I'm like, I don't care. I love Tony Gwynn, but it looks great on a belt. So
Hey, question.
yeah.
Now, um, I went to the website, but I didn't like look at pricing or anything.
Mhm.
How do you size these belts? Do people give you their belt size?
Yeah, so anything that's like a custom order. So basically I have probably at any time I have between 500 or 800 belts that are fully built, ready to just pull off the shelf behind me, throw in a box, and ship. But like if you wanted a Cubs belt with, only Jamie Moyer or some weird like custom thing, right? Like some obscure belt that isn't already built, or if you're like, oh, I love this belt with all these dudes, but it's the wrong size, then you just go to like the Cubs placeholder belt. You can search for Cubs and find just the placeholder where it's like, oh, I can just order a custom Cubs belt from here. And so if you order a 36, basically there's about 7 holes on the belt. I usually use 2 holes. I have a few different belts, and a couple of them I use 3 holes, just depending on pants or consumption. But basically, if you order a size 36, it'll fit like a 33 through a 38, or 34 through 39. So, depending on pants or, how many beers you've had, you can make some adjustments. So, yeah.
So you're telling me if I ordered a BB Richards belt, you have BB Richards, you could put that together. You're probably thinking, who the hell is BB
I,
Richards?
I don't even know who that is. Who is that?
It's kind of a joke on this podcast. He was an obscure player who played with the Cardinals and was terrible.
Okay.
So I've kind of made him like the podcast joke.
Well,
So
they're absolutely. I mean, it is really frequent that somebody will order like here's a good example. Julio Franco is kind of a good example. Like he's one of my favorite players all time. But if someone wants a Rangers Julio Franco belt, I have so many Cleveland Indians Julio Francos, and I have a bunch of Rangers. But occasionally I'll have to hop on Mercari or eBay and find a few to complete a one-person belt. I'm constantly buying Aaron Judge cards because I can't keep them in stock. But like a dude that's obscure like that, I was about to be mean. A guy that wasn't a superstar. If you ordered an all BB Richards belt, assuming that it's not like a Bob Uecker thing, like a guy with not great stats but whose cards are expensive, yeah, I can build anything. I mean,
wow.
within reason of cost. Like I'm clearly not building Mickey Mantle belts or anything like that, but yeah, like anything from mid 70s on, I can pretty much make happen.
So Will, if we wanted, if our viewers or us wanted a special belt, could we reach out to you? Because I ordered 2 belts. I got Vincent Chicago Cub 70s belt, and the players on there you're going to get a kick out of. Some of them are the all-stars, some of them are the, maybe a bit relief pitcher or two in there, and it's really cool. But I reached out to Will, and he's making Brody a Arenado belt. So I sent him a stack of cards, but I didn't know how many I needed, so I sent about 16. Whatever's left is yours. And so people could do that. They could say, hey, Will, I want I thought of some odd ones here. Let's see. Joni Loves Chachi. If I have a Joni Loves Chachi thing, you could do it. Totally. Best afros. Do you have a best afro belt available?
I think there's
Gamble.
I think there's an NFL one left. It's like a 70s NFL afros belt. It's amazing. And
that would be great.
It's a belt I built like 2 years ago, and the rest of them have sold, and I didn't think they were as cool as the one that remains, But yeah, those and the funny glasses, those are I mean, those were the original ideas, like here are the piles of just weird stuff. When those belts sell, that's my favorite belt to sell. But to answer your question, yeah, like contact me over, you can email me, you can contact me, you can find my information on the website, cardbelts.com. And like I said, I can build pretty much anything that you might want. So
I like a mystery belt. I was going to get Vince a mystery belt where he didn't know the connection, but it was going to be all the baseball players that dated Alyssa Milano. Brad Penny, I knew that's one of them.
That would be a good one.
That would be a good one. Cabano, yeah, there's a few of them. I remember that.
Yeah, there you go.
So a couple of cool belts that I just built is I built it ended up being 2 belts because the first one was going to be a gift and it was ordered in the wrong size. And so this guy contacted me. He was like, hey, I got this belt as a gift. It's the wrong size. And I'm like, tell me your size. I'll send you another one. And you give that other belt to a guy you work with because they're grounds crew guys at Wrigley. So the belts there are some superstars on there, but the cards are all where there's so much ivy. It's like it's cards that have as much ivy as possible. Yeah. So I'm stoked to, I told him like, please get me photos of you guys rocking your belts in front of the ivy. So those types of, and like what's cool too is like ex-major leaguers, like sometimes sons will contact me and be like, hey, my dad played for the whoever, and he wants a belt of his buddies. Like that's always really cool to send a belt to somebody that is, on the belt, so those are always.
Now, not giving away trade secrets, just time.
Yeah.
When you sit down and make a belt, I'm not talking about sorting the cards and all that. When you have the cards sorted and you're going to sit down and make a belt, how long does that take?
I've got the construction part down to just over 30 minutes. So
wow.
But that's the thing about that is like, if I am, that's usually, it's that fast when I'm in like a lot of production mode where I'm just cranking belts out. And usually those are belts that are not custom, where it's like, I'm out of Phillies belts. I need to build 15 new Phillies belts so I have inventory. When I get in that mode, I can crank them out really fast like that. But like the Matt Strom belt for the All-Star game, I did my best to not take too long. Like I wanted it done right, and I didn't want muscle memory to go away by slowing down, but I was being careful with it, And if I'm having a couple of drinks or chatting with buddies while I'm building belts, it'll slow me down. But the whole process is so fun that I don't, if I worried about the amount of time this whole undertaking takes, I never would have started it, And so like, not that I'm not at all concerned with somebody else trying to do this, because they would have to be insane. I mean, the amount of card sorting alone to be able to just be like, I have the next 60 Cardinals belts sorted where every card on the front side is either a star or a fan favorite, so where it's just like pull those out, slice them, get it out the door, so it's a process that takes a lot of patience. But now that all of the process part is done, now it really is just like grab and go and make it happen. So yeah, it's become much faster over the 4 years of doing it. So yeah.
When me and my son Brody, that's my son who's getting the Arenado belt, when we're going to opening day, and if it's okay, I'm going to take a picture of him wearing your belt,
Of course,
by the Stan Musial statue, and we'll send that to you. And would you be I know I'm going to order more, because as soon as I start showing this around to my baseball nerd friends,
yeah,
they'll be wanting them. But if we send you cards, I'll make sure to send you a bunch of Rangers. I'll send you a bunch of extra Ranger cards just for you to have. And, I know you're a big Ranger fan, so I always promote anybody who loves the game of baseball and has a team and all that. Matter of fact, made it down to the new stadium down. I went to Old Arlington, and it was like 103 degrees. Yep. About killed me. And I've been to the new one. I like that much better.
Yeah.
72 degrees in there and very nice.
I made it down 2023, the year they won. My sons and I took a trip down and caught a series. And, watching those games on TV, because the ballpark in Arlington is so beautiful, watching that new stadium on TV, I'm like, but spending my entire life going to Rangers games at Old Arlington Stadium, and then where it's miserable,
yes,
in Arlington is amazing. So,
yeah, it's a joy.
It's
a joy to watch it there. Yeah.
A couple of things from your website that caught my attention, because I'm weird. You have belts made from the Desert Storm cards. I actually used to have that whole set that I lost in a divorce. So that was like, oh my gosh, I could have General Schwarzkopf on a belt and all this other stuff.
That's right.
Second,
those belts, by the way, are not popular at all. I've sold like 3 of those ever.
Really?
So, more than anything, it's just funny. Like, they really, really needed to sell that war. Here's some cards, kid.
Yeah. That's my ex-mother-in-law. She bought me the set, and that was and she also bought me the set of the Death of Superman comic books.
Nice.
And my ex and I said she bought them for me as a gift. That was my mother. And so finally I just said, screw it, you can have it. So
that's funny.
The second thing, when I was a kid, I'm a little older than you, I used to collect the wacky packages.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that they have wacky packages that are baseball themed.
Yeah.
I had no idea those existed. I got to get my hands on those.
That's a fun part of, I still feel like a kid when I buy a huge lot of cards, from some dude, and not knowing what's in it. It's so fun going through them, because there's anything past, anything newer than 1995 probably is probably something I haven't seen. Now I've seen a lot of it.
Yeah.
But all the new stuff I've seen that I haven't seen, it's always fun to see that stuff. But yeah, the wacky packs, those, I had never seen those before. And I think they're, around 2000-ish, the year that some of those are, or maybe like mid 2000s, because they have the Rays and the Rockies and, some of the newer, they're not new now, but some of those newish teams, but those are cool. They are really cool. And what's cool about them is they're a little more like, flimsy is not the right word, but almost like waxy. So it's a softer build, they're just as structurally sound, but it just has a different feel to it. So they're really cool. And then the belts that I love to wear the most are the Sports Flicks belts. Or cards, the lenticular, is that what it's called, where you see the 3 different poses. Yeah. So one of my favorite belts is the was it Fleer that had the I don't know, 2x2 inch team logo cards,
like a hologram.
Yeah, the holograms. Yeah. So that's still the favorite belt I've built for myself.
Never even thought about that. That's a great idea, Will.
Really cool, and they feel heavy duty because they're so thick. Yeah.
Now, I just want to throw this idea out, Will, just
Yeah.
as an idea. Belts are great, but a lot of us Americans, we're maybe a little overweight. What about suspenders
People
for
have
us big people?
people have asked about suspenders and like I can't even I feel like it costs so much for you to buy that from me that you wouldn't want it because
Well, it's a special item, but
yeah. Yeah.
it's something to think about. Just
The
throwing it out there.
the other two items that people request the most are guitar straps and dog collars,
Oh,
which are both good ideas. I just haven't had the time to even
well,
consider.
yeah. You need to have more kids to help you out.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, but dog collars would be a good one because in Colorado everyone has at least a dog. So
Go.
yeah.
I want to tell you, we're going to have to knock off here in a minute. But one thing you said that resonated with both me and JJ, you said you just love when you get new stuff to open it up. We end every podcast each opening up a packet of baseball cards because, as we say, it's like Christmas
It
every
is.
time we do this. Yeah, so I understand. I get where you're coming from, but I want to tell you something. We've been doing this for it's our third year.
Third year.
You may be the most interesting guest I've ever had. I mean, I like talking to our guests and everything, but it's such a weird niche that you're in.
Yeah.
But your enthusiasm is incredible.
Hey,
So, and
I appreciate that.
when JJ said, "I got a guy that I think I want to get on here who makes belts," that's a big deal.
No, I saw him on Card Life too. On that, if you get a chance, check him out on Card Life. You can't help but like the guy, and he does a heck of a job. These are top notch belts too. And I've been telling people, and they're going, baseball card belts? I said, wait till you see these. So I'm going to be prancing around town on these things. You're going to be getting some orders, Will.
Sweet. I like it. Well, it's funny when I do like street festivals and art festivals and beer festivals. I've got a booth and I stand inside. I mean, I'm under a booth and then I have walls around me and everything is sorted by city. So all the teams from each city are, sorted alphabetically. And the number of people that walk up and are like, are those actually cards? Or the number of people that will have been looking around for several minutes and then realize, oh, these are actual cards. It's fun to see people's reactions to it because it is like, it is not for everyone. And I'm totally okay with that. And the snide comments of people at events like that just make me want to do it more. Because then the next kid will come up and buy 4 belts. So
Go.
yeah.
All right.
Well, let people know your website. You got to, once you visit the website, you'll be hooked. They're so cool looking. What's your website?
Yep. Cardbelts.com, just how it sounds. CARDBELTS, cardbelts.com.
Okay, I'm glad you spelled that out because we in Missouri don't spell very well. So,
Yeah. Hooked on phonics.
But,
well, Will, thank you for your time.
Oh, Will,
And,
thank you. You've been great.
It's been a lot of fun. And if you ever want to come on again, just get a hold of us. Got some kind of a new belt that you come up with. We'd like to show it off. Okay.
Cool. Sounds good. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot.
Oh,
Thanks a lot, Will. Appreciate it.
I'll take it easy.
Oh, man, I want to tell you something. That was one of the coolest interviews we've ever done.
I agree. I had a blast.
And his enthusiasm was infectious. And his product is so cool. And I know that I'm going to be parting with some money here in the near future for some of that stuff. That is so cool.
If any of you guys out there, our ladies, buy one, take a picture, send it to us. We'll post it. I want to just let us know that you're out there. Check out the website, send messages, come up with an idea for a belt you like, and this guy will take care of you. I'm excited about being involved with him, and hopefully he comes back on again sometime.
Yeah, great interview. JJ, I have score from 1988.
Woo!
I don't know if you could tell, but that runner is definitely safe.
Oh, he's laying on the plate. He's on the bag. He's laying on the plate.
What you got?
I got something new. I've been doing those update uh, tops. I went with a the Heritage Baseball. I've got the Heritage, the ones that look like the 1975 tops. It's current players, so I'll be opening those.
1975 was the year I started collecting baseball cards.
Me too. That
Yep.
was the first year I really got into it. I seen them, didn't know anything about them. I didn't know when they came out or who. Did every player have one? And then I had a friend, Kenny Giffen, fourth grade, had the 74 cards. And I was like, whoa. And it brought the players to life for me because I just heard the games on the radio when I'd be at my grandpa's. And the 75 came out, and I'm just hooked on that 75 year. I'm putting the 75 set back together little by little. And then these cards came out, and I went crazy. So, you want me to go first?
Sure.
All righty. Now, Hall of Famers, there's every once in a while they have an old time player. There's 9 cards in a pack. Oh, you're saying 2? Every once in a while they have some old players, but these guys are probably a lot of future Hall of Famers. All right, we got a Yankee here, Clark Schmidt.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer. Yeah, the Clark Schmidt. Yeah, hey, that kid's pretty good. Oh, the Seattle Mariners, great pitching staff. Bryce Miller, very
Oh,
good young pitcher. Yeah, the Mariners just need hitting. They've got the pitching. Oh, Giant, and I don't even know. There's 2 of them. I can't keep track of who's who, but Tyler Rogers from the Giants with the City Connect jersey on right there.
yeah. His brother's Trevor.
Yeah. Oh, and they both played with the Giants,
Yeah, I
didn't
think they
they?
both played with the Giants last year.
Okay. Braves, and this is an all-star card. Orlando Arcia right there.
Yeah.
All
Arcia, yeah.
Yeah, very nice. Happy City Connect jersey again. To me, I think the Braves is my favorite City Connect jersey. Oh, his father played baseball. He plays baseball. Maybe the captain of the Blue Jays, one of the best players on that team, Bo Bichette, in the old school Blue Jay jerseys there. I like that. Very
Yeah.
nice. Very colorful. Colorful. We have back in the 75, they did all the MVPs. Of course, that was 75, so now they can update these. 2009 most valuable player in both leagues right there. Let me see if I can get it from being blurry. All right. Right there. We've got, I know that's Albert in the National League and the American League. A catcher. Who would that be? These things, the colors. Shoot. I'm having trouble reading the card. Who would that be? Oh, Joe Mauer.
Joe Mauer, yeah. Yep.
Joe Mauer right there. Joe Mauer. Good
Hall of
player.
Famer. There's one.
Oh, you're right, Vince. Very good. Dodger pitcher, although I think they moved him this year. Promising career, got hurt, but came on when they needed him. Walker Bueller. Now, did Walker Bueller go to a different team this year,
Didn't he sign with
Vince?
did he sign with the Yankees or the Red Sox?
I honestly
Kind
cannot
of one-year
remember.
deal. He's
Yeah.
seemed like a pillow contract.
Well, I was up there in Milwaukee the last 2 years, and this kid, fantastic player, won a Gold Glove this year. Milwaukee Brewers Sal Frelick, very good young hard nosed
Yeah.
player. Really like this kid. And finally, the last card, a Washington National Jose Ferrer, and there he is, pitcher, and a rookie card too. It's got that rookie card emblem right there.
So I
Who
was right. He
knows?
had 2 Hall of Famers, Joe Mauer and Clark Schmidt.
Clark, very good, Vince. Hey, you're on it. Woo!
Facts don't matter anymore.
That's right. You're a Hall of Famer.
Oh, and let's open up my scorecards here.
All right. I'm predicting 1 Hall of Famer.
Second baseman for the Phillies and played for a few other teams. Juan Samuel.
Oh yeah,
On
good
speed.
player.
Yeah.
Good player all around.
Oh,
Oh,
former Cardinal, former Pirate, former catcher who would squat down lower than anybody ever saw. Tony Pena,
oh, Tony Pena could throw you out from sitting on his butt.
former All-Star. Yeah.
Love Tony Pena.
This guy had like a 3-year time period where he was one of the top 2, 3 second basemen in the National League. And then he just kind of kind of wane, but Bill Doran, who was
Yes.
all-star for a few years.
Yes, he was.
Mhm.
He had an injury, I think, that slowed him down, and when his speed went, that kind of was the end of his thing.
Yeah. And second baseman for the Reds, Ron Oster.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
long time
And
great red.
his mom used to make this creamy soup with potatoes and stuff, and it was called oyster stew.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that's where that came from. See, you learn so much stuff on this podcast.
Oh, this guy could have been a Hall of Famer.
Could have been
Period. Former Cub, Rafael Palmeiro.
Raphael. He's no Clark Schmidt, let me tell you.
No, no, no. Oh, here's the man. Hey, Mr. Herzog. You know, Gary Templeton.
Oh yeah, Gary. I met him. I didn't bring that up. Great guy, very nice.
Probably not a good
Hey, I
idea.
know I can read the room. You don't bring up the bad stuff.
Oh, oh my gosh. Do you remember hologram card October 2nd, 1968, Bush Stadium? But it's too little for me to read, but something
Oh,
happened. I have a feeling that Bob
19,
Gibson did something great in the World Series on October 2nd, 1968. Would that be
yeah,
when he struck out 17 Tigers? Maybe?
it could have been. Yeah, he would have been the opening day pitcher in the World Series
Can't read it though. Uh, oh my gosh. Bob Brower. Bulldog Bob Brower.
from
Oh,
Kansas City.
yes.
Yeah,
Former Cub, former Ranger, former Brewer, former All-Star, Gold Glover, catcher Jim Sundberg.
I love. Yes.
You know what he innovated?
What's that? No, what was it?
Putting the throwing hand behind the leg so it didn't get a foul
I
ball.
thought that was Johnny Bench. It was Sundberg, huh?
Yeah, Sundberg started that.
I'll be darned. Great player. I love Jim Sundberg. I got his autograph.
Here's a guy who had some pop, had some pretty good years with the Mariners, and he also played a little bit with the Royals. Ken Phelps.
Yes, I remember him. Yeah, he came over a Yankee. He was a Yankee, I believe, at one
Yeah, I think it
time.
was for a while. Uh, Infielder Domingo Ramos. The name's familiar, but
I don't know. There's been a lot of Ramoses. I don't know. I don't remember calling him. Who's he played for there?
he's playing for the Indians here. He played for the
Okay,
Mariners for 4 years. Yeah,
that's
the name rings a
career.
bell, but I'm trying to. Where do I know
I
him
don't
from?
recall any specific thing about him.
Oh, here's the man that we got from the Cardinals that was one of the key figures in bringing us to the playoffs in 1984. First baseman Leon Bull Durham.
Oh, I love Leon Durham. I got his
That's the
autograph.
guy who should be in the Cub Hall of Fame.
You know what? Yes, a good guy, good player,
Yeah.
puts the bat on the ball. You talked about good baseball instincts, moving the runners over, doing that kind of stuff. That's the kind of guy that did that.
Uh, right-handed pitcher for the Tigers, Mark Thurman.
Yeah, I knew something about it. Yeah, can't
Former Cub,
recall.
former Expo. This guy was a good pitcher. He never got his due. He'd always win 15, 16 games a year. Scott Sanderson.
Yes, you can win with a Scott Sanderson.
Former Cub, former Yankee, former Indian, currently incarcerated for doing unspeakable things, Mel Hall.
Oh yeah, I didn't know all that stuff till you told me. No Mel Hall belt. We're not getting a Mel Hall belt.
No, no. Former pitcher for the Expos and the White Sox and the Yankees, Pascual Perez. Brother
Oh yeah.
Melito also played. Part of the famous Perez brothers who were in Cuba.
I believe he was supposed to be at Bush Stadium pitching a game and got lost on the highway and he missed his start. He was driving around St. Louis.
Oh, it was Atlanta.
It was Atlanta. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a crazy place to drive. Okay, so it was the Cardinals. It was the Cardinals, but he got lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Uh,
that.
Former catcher, rookie prospect at this point, played for the Mets, Mackey Sasser.
Yeah, he was the guy that slid off the field and broke Tudor's leg sitting on the bench. Mackey
Yeah.
Sasser, I'll never forget that.
Mm.
Bad Mackey, bad Mackey.
Last card, game breakers.
Oh,
Got no Hall of Famers.
uh,
Although there are those who think this guy should be in the Hall of Fame.
okay.
We have Don Mattingly with Jack Clark.
Oh yeah, Mattingly had about a 6 year stretch where he was. It was like him and Wade Boggs over in the American League hitting. They were
Yeah, the
fantastic.
difference was he had a lot more power than Boggs.
Yes.
And Boggs was a serviceable third baseman. Mattingly was one of the greatest defensive first basemen. And there are people who just think he should be in the Hall of Fame. And my argument has always been, no, he didn't have a long enough prime. And then people said, yeah, but you know who also only had a 6 year prime? Sandy Koufax. Yeah, you're right. So maybe he should be in the Hall of Fame. He was playing on the Yankees during a time when the Yankees actually weren't that good. There was a time when the Yankees weren't that good. So yeah, he was on those teams in the mid '80s, early '90s where they just wasn't that good. And I don't think he ever played a playoff game.
No, I don't believe he did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my cards.
All right.
You know what that means? That's our show.
That's our show. Guys, send in your just a request. Hey, put me in the thing for the drawing for the Kasenko and Ray Langford autographs items. And next week throughout the show, and or send Vince a message, let me know, and I'll have a little fishbowl here with everybody's name in it. From time to time, we'll draw out prize winners next week.
Sounds good. Well, JJ, you have a wonderful week.
You too, sir.
I will. Hope things warm up.
Ah,
And gosh, we are just the Cubs start on the 9th, so we're just like that's Super Bowl Sunday actually. So we're just
yes, and it's the day after the event in Caledonia with Jason Mott, ex Cardinal, ex Cub, and the baseball card show down there. So, man, make it a weekend.
yeah, make it a weekend. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. All right.
Vince, that's 2 hours.
Uh,
And I had 2 more pages.